No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
I know, you can say it. We're all thinking it. We took a big L. I took a big L. I mean, I made a whole video talking about how Silent Hill is coming in the next PlayStation event. We should expect it. It's gonna be there. It's a real thing. I know. I made the videos. I edited. I did the research. But it didn't show up. Clearly wasn't there. So what's the big deal? What happened? Well, it could have been for any number of reasons why they didn't show it today or announce it. But I'm incredibly disappointed that they didn't show it. Honestly, this was something I made a big deal about in my channel, and I just would have been really happy to have finally, after so long, an official confirmation. But aside from all of that, I still believe that Silent Hill on the PS5 is a real thing. I think that game is currently being developed in secrecy at Sony. Now, many of you are probably going to disagree immediately. Maybe dislike the video, leave a comment disagreeing, and you're by all means allowed to do that, but I'm here to give you reasons as to why I still believe the fact that this game is real. And after that, I won't force you guys to believe me. I won't force you guys to get hope. It's like that meme from Avengers. Don't do that, don't give me hope. But I am going to explain to you guys why. And I don't know if you guys have seen that another meme, I'm referencing memes today, that hindsight is 20/20, man. And after you see what makes sense and what didn't, what you were thinking, how you were thinking, and why something didn't happen, you're able to much grasp what's going on rather than just guessing and having a feeling. So hindsight 20/20, that's like the theme of this video. And today I'm going to explain why I think this game is real and why we should expect it at some other time. Now, like I said, you guys don't have to believe me, but if you guys are interested at least in Silent Hills, I think it's fair enough to at least give the rest of the video a watch. And yeah, like I said, I'll always keep updating you guys on the Silent Hill situation until we have a game in our hands so we can play on the PS5. But without further ado, let me update you guys on the Silent Hill situation, which has become such a bitch to cover at this point, but I do it because I'm very interested, so I shall continue. So, to get started, why wasn't Silent Hill announced today at the PlayStation event? Well, like I said, Sony's not gonna say it. And this is, granted if you believe this game is still happening. Now, let's pretend that you do. Sony is not going to say why they didn't announce it today. That's just not something they need to do, frankly. It's just, you're not gonna say, this is why we didn't have something else we maybe had in the back, You're gonna save it for later. So, this is something that many people, including insiders, have agreed with. Now, obviously, not everybody's on the same page because at the end of the day, this is just something that only people that really care about follow. So everybody's going to be maybe with outdated information that was old, and stuff changes all the time. And if you guys know 2020, dates are not really a thing that you can trust at this point. They could change any moment and be delayed, be canceled, whatever it may be. But essentially, one big point that I can bring as to why Silent Hill could not have been announced at this show is, well, as you guys were seeing right here in the background, Resident Evil 8 gameplay. Now, many of you are probably asking, what does it have to do with anything? But try and look at it from a publisher's perspective. You probably don't want to have anything that's even remotely redundant. You wouldn't have Call of Duty and Battlefield in the same event. It just doesn't really make sense. You're not going to have way too many FPS. Big FPS. This town ain't big for the two of us type of vibes, you know what I mean? But going with that, at the end of the day, Resident Evil and Silent Hill are both horror games. And if people had to choose, at least in recent times, they're not going to choose Silent Hill. Resident Evil is just way too recognized as of recent. They've been releasing game after game after game within months of each other. Well, maybe like not that fast, but very, very close to each other. We had the 2 remakes, the 7th game in the series release, and also probably another remake coming soon, and now this coming. You don't want to compete with that. To add on top of that, Sony has marketing rights for Resident Evil 8, so they're not going to do that and also compete with it at the same time. It just doesn't make sense. If you're Sony and you're developing Silent Hill, you probably don't want to compete with Resident Evil at the same time because it just doesn't make sense. It's kind of backwards. So now looking at it that way, they're just gonna, you have to focus on one thing at a time. And I wasn't thinking about that because I was too focused on wanting the Silent Hill game. But probably give it some time. Let Resident Evil release and then maybe talk about the Silent Hill game. Hopefully, I'm really hoping that maybe like next summer we can hear something about Silent Hill. But we'll just have to wait and see. Now, probably an even bigger argument, honestly, is that PlayStation already has enough games. Definitely for launch and even for 2021, which is crazy, man. Like, just look at all the games. Spider-Man, Demon's Souls launch, then Ratchet & Clank launch window within like a couple months after the launch of the PS5. And then 2021, you have God of War, Ragnarok, and Horizon Forbidden West. Like, that is enough for like 2 years. That's insane. That's a lot of games for people to play. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of other, smaller games that they're going to release. Obviously. But just with those games to start is really good. So they don't really need to show Silent Hill right now. There's no reason to. The launch is covered. More than covered. Definitely a lot more than Xbox. So they're fine. This is probably a game that we can expect late 2021 at the earliest. And somewhere around 2022 probably more likely. But that's how I feel about this game right now. Another thing that I forgot to mention was that this game only started development in 2019. So it's only been in development for really only 2 years. I think it's fair to say that it needs a little bit more time before it's, ready to release and stuff like that. And maybe a year more or like half a year from the announcement, then a year more to release at the very least. So it's fair to say we don't have to rush for the game to be announced. Like I said, hindsight 2020, now just paying attention to all of this, I should have thought about that. Maybe they already have enough games. Maybe they should announce it at a time where it makes more sense. Maybe if they announce it now, the wait for the release would be too long. So we probably just want to announce it at a later date anyways. But yes, another thing to add on to this is going to be something an insider said. One of the main insiders that have information on Silent Hill. This is something he said hours before the event went live today. And I think it's important to highlight it because it was before the event. Did say, we're not ready for tonight. Believe me, we're not ready. That's Catharsis T, which is one of the guys that has contacted information from Sony themselves, and that's how he knows Sony's the one developing it. So he talked about this earlier today regarding Silent Hill. And guess what happened? He was right about that. Now I know, definitely not something that gives you more credit. But he definitely did not anticipate this game to be revealed in today's event. And he said this before the show began, so he was confident in what he was saying. And you know what? Like, by the way he phrased that, it just really sounds like Silent Hill just needs a little bit more time to be shown. And like I said, with everything else going on around it, it just doesn't make sense for this game to just be announced right now. I'm going to cap it off with this thread right here from Dust Golem. He's been one of the main insiders for Silent Hill. So here he just sort of gives a timeline over everything that happened. He doesn't claim to have any new information or leaks regarding when we can expect it, but he does provide basically how everything happened from the very start, how he found the information and everything, just sort of like an interesting story of how everything came together. If you guys are interested, make sure to keep reading. I'm gonna scroll through it so you guys can see everything. It's not too long, but I'm not gonna rate it because I know many of you are probably not interested at this point. I'm also going to leave the link down below, but aside from that, thank you guys so much. Leave a like if you want to. Otherwise, I totally understand if you guys don't want to at this point. But that has been it. Thank you and peace.
Ryan Little.